Hey guys, welcome to my run on Ignis's raid event in DFFOO Global. I was pretty excited for this event because Ignis is a character that I'm really hyped for. Unfortunately, I spent quite a lot to pull for Ignis BT. I spent 400 tickets, didn't get anything, and I went in with gems and I had to full PT his PT weapon. But I guess it isn't too bad because I don't have Queen's FR, so along the way I snagged 4 copies of Queen's FR. But due to the heavy investment, this time around the initial run that I'll do is sort of like a showcase on Ignis's potential. In this run, Ignis is sort of like the main damage dealer. I will be entering into his BT mode. And while yes, it is true I am using 2 often characters in the form of Noctis and Weiss, and they do contribute a lot of the damage as well, I think this is actually a testament to one of Ignis's pros or benefits. Because Ignis himself is a 4-stage charger, this means that you don't have to bring the usual support character with 4-stage charging to hit 100% force time early. Ignis himself does that. This really opens up team comp flexibility and allows me to bring 2 follow-up attackers, one of which is actually a Noctis, and Noctis is also there to keep the turn count low. Overall, this is going to be a 1-turn run only, and the 1 turn being Ignis's BT mode, which unfortunately can't be avoided. Weiss is a little bit overkill in my opinion on this stage, but I brought him in obviously because his PT also gives you debuff immunity. That way you can completely ignore every single mechanic on this stage. Alternatively, you don't have to bring Weiss, or for that matter you don't have to bring Noctis either. You can just bring another character with a Rising Call, and just slapping a Rising LD Call early on really negates every single mechanic on this stage as well. So for example, you could maybe bring Fujin along and pop her BT aura early. That way Ignis can also launch every single turn in his BT mode. I didn't do that because I felt that the launch isn't really needed, and while it will lead to higher damage obviously, it just sort of prolongs the fight due to the launch animation, and the bosses really only have 220 million HP each, which is actually lesser than the last event. So I just decided to give the range call to Noctis instead, just so he can charge the summon meter and just do without launch in this BT mode. I must confess, I'm not very familiar with Ignis's playstyle. I haven't really pulled for him before. I think this is the first time that I did not skip Ignis since his debut. Few things to take note in terms of setup. To hit Force Weakness, you need to party enchant with Ignis LD buff, which is why at the very start I have him use his LD in his free turn. Also, although his S1 and S2 are both instant turns, only the S1 is free turn, so if you keep spamming S2, it will increase the turn count. So I only use S2 while Ignis has Noctis's buff up. Sorry, I mean the warp step buff from Noctis. Also, before going into force time, I did his dishes attack, which is also instant turn, but you need to press one of his dishes like right here, otherwise you sort of waste an instant turn during force time. Now the enemies did enter force time here, but their attack is pretty weak, and you can easily just hit force weakness and cancel them out of force time anyway, which is why I decided not to raise the force gauge. If you want to raise the force gauge, you could, like I said earlier, swap Weiss out for Fujin. Assuming you have Fujin at force level 50, it drastically increases the rate of your force gauge charging. But I haven't used Weiss for the longest of times, and in this stage where it features a lot of debuffs, I thought why not myself bring Weiss here, and he also complements Ignis's damage as well. pop summon to keep the turn count at 0. I use Bahamut summon just so that it fills up Weiss's EX meter. One of Weiss' cons, I guess, is that he starts off the fight only with 4 turns of the EX buff, and Weiss' EX buff is the one that allows him the off-turn attack, so you do need to refresh the buff, and the easiest way, I guess, is to just pop Bahamut summon, and then that way Weiss can use EX right here as well. Now here I used the Seymour base core, and in case you're wondering why, the only reason I did this is to push Ignis' turn out of summon mode. Right now Ignis has final turn in summon mode, which means that I need to do something in order for him to enter BT mode. You could obviously maybe just go another round of attacks with Noctis and Weiss, but it's not really needed and you just waste the force time turns. And there's probably other ways that you can approach this a bit more efficiently, but this worked anyway. So finally we come to Noctis' turn, and there's 2 turns here, so it's as simple as double FR echoes. One good thing about Ignis force time is that his conditions are very generic. It just requires you to end your turn with having full life and no debuffs. So to me, really the strength of Ignis overall is the flexibility of his kit. Not only you see a force cage charger as I mentioned earlier, so it really opens up the team comp that you can bring, the choices of characters that can fit well, but his FR conditionals also synergize with this. Truly, I think there's many party members that will work well with Ignis, and you can bring him in almost any setup that you want, and he can play the role of main DPS, or he can play the role of support in force cage charger as well, depending on what you want to do. And to me, really, that's the allure of going for Ignis overall. So out of summon mode, just go into BT mode and mop up the boss. Other option also is that if you still have S2 or S1 with Ignis, you can do his instant turn as a force cage charging here to really supercharge the force cage bonus. So that's also something to consider if you have the extra turns to do so. Don't forget that both his FR conditionals don't actually require you to do an attack, just requires you to end your turn. So if I say you do an instant turn ability that gives you plus 50%, you still get plus 80% from his force cage conditionals. So Ignis himself, for example, you can spend the first turn or first 2 turns in his BT mode to press S1 or S2, and that way you get like 260% bonus just off the bat. So really there's ways to play around this. One way to make use of this is, instead of popping summon first, you could enter into Ignis BT mode first, right after he finished charging the force gauge, and enter force time, and that way you can just use S2, S1 and such in the first few turns, really ramp up the force gauge bonus very quickly. His BT mode will obviously do less damage overall, but then after you exit his BT mode at 99%, and then you can pop summon mode to make use of this with everyone else still having their echoes intact. Also, in case you're wondering, Ignis does have a 505 ultimate weapon here. I actually dismantled my staff ultimate weapon since this is the last day of October. Might as well make use of the free dismantle. Now I did kill off the boss here, but in case you couldn't, don't worry, because you still have force retain after this, and everyone is still buffed with warp step anyway, and the boss is at 0% force gauge, so you still have some leeway right after this to finish off the boss as well. Anyway, that's it for this run. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment or subscribe. Till then, I'll catch you guys in the next Shunryu fight. Bye!